Welcome back to the Everyday Armor podcast. I know we took a little break over Thanksgiving. It just got to be such a hectic week. I actually did have an episode planned to do just like Thanksgiving topics to talk about with family, but life was just way too hectic. And I'll give you a little bit of an update before we get into something online that has just really been driving me crazy and some kind of, maybe you could say internet beef. I don't know. We'll get into it. And I just think that this guy needs to be canceled. And I'm not a fan of like the whole cancel people type thing, but like this is actually something that to me is so harmful and just somebody really prioritizing clout over proper education. And you've probably heard me talk about it, but we'll get into it today and I'm going to name some names. So before we get into that, I do want to just give quick update. We got married on November 22nd, but our wedding started as like there was like a whole week before it. So my parents came out. Well, first of all, I had a panel that I was on, a safety panel in Phoenix in Scottsdale on Saturday, the 15th. Then the 16th, I had 2 classes at UC Davis. So I flew from Arizona all the way up to Sacramento, taught that class at UC Davis. Then that night I flew out and my parents also flew in at the same time to Vegas. So I went and met up with them. It was like, I think we got in at like 8:30 or 9 or something. Then we went and checked them into their hotel and we also got dinner. And then all the wedding stuff started. So the next day, bright and early, we had like appointments. There was a makeup run through I had to do. We had spray tans, nails. My dad went and got a pedicure with my mom and I, which was really cute. And then like so many different details and things that we had to get last minute. So the whole week was just absolutely crazy. Then on Wednesday, my parents flew out. They flew to Palm Springs because our wedding was in Indio, California. It's like right next to Palm Springs. And we had some of my one of my longest friends. She came up from Coeur d'Alene now. She's from Washington, but she came up from Coeur d'Alene where she now lives with her husband. And they came and I can't even explain how much they saved us. We got like a huge rental car. We packed so much shit into the car to bring out to the wedding. And we drove the 4.5 hours with them, got there on Thursday morning or Thursday like afternoon. And then we got everything set up. We immediately started our first event. It was like a Texas night because we'd lived in Texas before. And all the events for the wedding were themed of like places that were important to us. So that was Texas night. Then the next day we had like a pool party. It was like cloudy. It was just really a hangout and we had some cute little pool decor or whatever. People did go in the pool though and the hot tub and it was like heated and stuff. And then that night we did Vegas night. So we had like some casino tables. We did bingo. So like people had to go sign off. It would say stuff like get a signature from somebody who held the groom as a baby. So you'd have to go find someone. And some of them were like excluding parents because we wanted people to really like get to mingle. And it was so much fun. People dressed up for the themes. It was so cool. The next morning we had waking up in Washington because obviously I'm from Washington. So we did kind of like Washington theme-ish morning. And it was a little bit of a late start. The night before there was it was so crazy. So we had a little bit of a late start in the morning, but we all got ready. We had the photographer come. The ceremony was incredible. Our friend who introduced us, her name's Hannah. You probably heard me talk about her on the podcast, but she married us and it was so special. And then we went into food and the like attire theme because the venue was beautiful. So we thought that like pastels and stuff would be really pretty. And for our wedding party, we just ended up doing family because I could not pick my girlfriends to save my life. So I had all my girlfriends. There was like 15, 20 of us wearing sage green. So we all took photos together still after the ceremony. Like they were my bridesmaids and we did getting ready photos and stuff. And also I have to say, I really recommend, Teddy didn't feel the most comfortable like giving our vows in front of everybody. So we did them private. I loved doing the first look and private vows because we also got, this was like DIY wedding. Like you would have thought that it was at a beautiful location, but we just wanted to have like a stress-free weekend and we're just very like chill. And like the little details, like things like the bingo night and I'll get into it, but we did like a trivia night. Like those things really mattered to me where like the structured ceremony, to me, it was more like, let's just like have fun with it and not make it so stressful and so much pressure. So, but I really love doing our vows privately. I think that just allowed us to like go through the ceremony together. We like had a drink after, we chatted with our families. We did all of our family photos before the ceremony too, because obviously it gets dark a little bit earlier. So it was like just perfect. We had flower grandmas, we had his nephews, or our nephews. They were ring and booze security. Our families love to have a good time. So one of his nephews, his oldest nephew, he had like a little briefcase, and they both had like black sunglasses, were all black, and he had the rings, obviously. And then his our youngest nephew, I'm like, I gotta get used to that. He was booze security. So he had this huge cooler. We put a booze security sticker on the back of it, and he had drinks for each of our parents. So they came out after I went down the aisle with my parents, and they came out to Bad Boys. But people like were still looking at us, and people thought that I was surprised by it, but like, it was my idea. Like we planned it, but no one was looking back there because they all thought that like no one else was coming down the aisle because I already came down. So I was like trying to like point like, oh, what's that? Because Bad Boys is playing. People are probably super confused. And they did so perfect. They came and stood up by everybody. And like, I think I was just like lost in the chaos of the day. And I totally forgot that they were going to stand up with Teddy, like all of Teddy's brothers. And I saw a video. One of my girlfriends, Caroline, she took so much amazing footage and like made videos for us from the weekend. But oh my gosh, I was watching one of the videos and I was like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot they were going to stand up there. It was like such a sweet surprise. I literally got teary. It was just so cute. It was like all of Teddy's brothers, and then like their dad, and was last, and then it was like them, and you could hardly see like his youngest, or our youngest nephew, with like he's shorter obviously than his older nephew. And oh my gosh, it was just so cute. Like the ceremony could not have been more perfect. Hannah did incredible. And at first I wasn't sure if like my sister was going to want to stand up there because she was literally 7 months pregnant. So we were going to have everybody sit down, and last minute she's like, no, I'm totally down to stand up. And I was like, okay, cool. So we had all of them stand up there. It literally like, it was just so special. And our grandmas were so sassy. We've flown their petals. It was great. And then we went into, and so the theme, I don't know if I mentioned this, the theme for that was like Cabo Coastal, for like pastels, comfy linens, just like chill. And obviously like we've gone to Cabo, we're going there for our honeymoon, and that was like our first like real vacation together. And then the last part of the evening was so much fun. We did Nashville nonsense for the reception because we started dating in Nashville. And we all got dressed up in like cowboy hats, cowboy boots. Everybody ate. And we also had people eating and mingling and like drinking and stuff while we took photos instead of having like a sit down dinner. Because to us, like the people that in our families that would do speeches, I just felt like they've told me, would be so anxious throughout the day that that's like all they could focus on. And we wanted them to just enjoy it. And so while we took photos after the ceremony, we wrote individual letters to everybody that was like, you know, favorite memory with them or whatever. And then we gave them a little one that they could write back to us. So we had everybody do that. And then we had appetizers, and then eventually dinner. Then it was just like serve yourself, or we had people like serving it, but it was like not like a sit down where people bring your plates to you. And then we had like a full bar. So we did all of that during photos, and then everybody went out to the barn. So there was a big barn at the house that we rented for the weekend, and we set up trivia tables, and we tried to make it so there was people from like every area of our lives at one table, but like still where people obviously felt comfortable. And I didn't know how this was going to go because I just kind of had this last minute idea in a hotel room, and I was like, wait, let's try to do a trivia night. So we came up with a bunch of questions about like us, and the answer could be bride, groom, or both. Our DJ was phenomenal. We had 8 tables, and we kept score. So Teddy and I were up at the front keeping score, and people got so into it. We were super excited. It was so much freaking fun. And one thing I regret, one of the questions said, who can do the splits, bride or groom? And we both can. And there's a funny story about me learning Teddy could do the splits. On my 24th birthday, we were at a bar, and I'm like walking by, and like we love a dance floor. I'm walking to get some drinks, and all of a sudden I literally just fall on my butt. And it's like the day of my birthday. I'm like, what the hell? And I'm like, what just happened? I turn around. Teddy's in the middle of a dance circle in the splits, and his back leg knocked my legs out from underneath me. It was so funny. So the answer was both. And he also like played baseball. So he was flexible. So we get onto the dance floor. People are like, prove it. So we decide, we've had a couple drinks. We decide that we're going to like jump up and do the splits. It has been 3 weeks now since our wedding. my hamstring is so not okay. I cannot work out right. We were doing kettlebell swings. My hamstring hurts so bad still. But oh my gosh, we got the most iconic photos. It was so much fun. I'm taking way too long recapping this, but we had an amazing time. The next weekend we went out for my sister's baby shower. It went incredible. Then we came home and it's just been absolutely wild, but so many exciting things. And I wasn't on my phone a lot. Like I still have messages I have to get back to. And I went onto social media because I've been really like doing my best to stay as consistent as possible. And I kept seeing these same posts of this guy who I had reached out to. And I think I'd mentioned this before, but he posts stuff that is just such like fear-mongering, untrue, frustrating. And I personally reached out to him and said, a lot of these things you're posting aren't accurate. And like, you should really maybe do some extra research. And he's an officer and his is at police helpful tips on TikTok. So please know if you see his shit, definitely go research it yourself before you start believing it. And I reached out to him and I was like, hey, like, because he was saying that there was this trend. And I think this one was kids in distress in parking lots, like coming up and like luring women to isolated locations to like get them kidnapped into trafficking. And he wouldn't respond. And it was driving me crazy. And he finally, the one thing that he ended up saying was, I have it here somewhere. Well, when I hear multiple stories from numerous people about the same issue, that's where I get trend. Also, I work for the federal government. And so it's like, okay, wait, so you hear stories word of mouth, take that as fact, and just because you work for the government, it makes it true? Like, that's not how it works. You still have to do your own fucking research. Just because you hear shit doesn't make it true. You might hear about zip ties on cars being used in trafficking, and then that doesn't make it true. So it really, really enraged me. And then I sent him some information on it and he read it, didn't respond. And I reached out to him again. I was like, hey, like, I just following up here because like you're still posting these things and they are inaccurate. And I finally gave up because he would read them and not respond. And he's still posting. But he gets so many likes and views on these types of posts. And there was one he posted about like people sticking like a needle into the cap of like drinks, like waters and Ubers, and injecting things like fentanyl to make you pass out in an Uber. And okay, can people spike drinks and food in Ubers? Yes. Should you use your better judgment and just like not accept drinks and whatever food from people you don't know? Yeah, for sure. But where is this a new trend? Show me the proof, because those things are not happening at like crazy rates, and it's certainly not a trend to be taking a needle, sticking it through the cap of a fucking water in an Uber with fentanyl and making people pass out. Get your fucking facts straight before you start posting shit that is going to instill a lot of fear in people. Nothing makes me more irritated, especially because I privately tried to reach out to him. So we're going to get into some of the things he's done, some of the things he's posted that are not true. Then I'm going to give you the accurate side of what's going on here. So first of all, when he posts these things, a lot of times he'll use language that is like, it's a good hook, right? And it gets you interested. And I will tell you, his following is like tripled in the last month because of this misleading, fucked up information. So some of the ways that he'll say things like, just was made of a new danger to women, or this danger is for parents for their young children being abducted, like this new danger, and he's wearing his police uniform. So you do instinctively trust him, right? Again, I've told him that he should maybe do a little research on these things. And I started off just asking like, hey, where are these things happening? Where is it trends? And that response, I heard from people, and I'm in the federal government. No, using they will do this. They will come up to your window. They will put a water bottle on something, because it implies that there's multiple people using these types of tactics. Or he'll say like, was made aware of this new trend, or new trend for women that could be putting you in danger, like those kinds of things where it's like, oh, there's this new trend you got to be aware of that's getting people into the videos, and people don't know any better because there's so much misinformation online that they just inherently trust it, especially when you're wearing a fucking police uniform. And I'm so sorry for all of my foul language. Nothing makes me more irritated than people that knowingly post stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, people make mistakes online. I have made mistakes, and I've had to go double check myself on certain things. I will go and delete anything that has any like piece of that information that maybe wasn't fully accurate. Or I remember there was one time that I was listening to somebody who had been in, I think it was the FBI. And I trusted what he said and I didn't do any more research. So I had posted about it and people were commenting and I was like, oh wait, let me hold up, do my own research. I did a ton of research on this topic. And then I was like, okay, that was not fully accurate. So I started taking that information down and I said, hey, I posted something that was inaccurate, whatever. That's the responsible thing to do, especially when you are referring to topics about people's personal fucking safety. I digress. Some myth cities posted. Kids in distress in parking lots luring you to secluded areas where they then kidnap you. Kidnapping with trafficking, as we've talked about, is pretty rare. And there is no credible evidence that this is a widely used or supported credible tactic. Next one. This one is absolutely fucking crazy. Pregnant women in particular. Okay, they will come up to you with kids, pregnant women with kids. If you are sitting in your car at a fast food restaurant parking lot, eating, very specific, they will come up, these pregnant women with kids, come up, tap on your window and ask you to come inside to buy them food. And if you resist, they keep insisting. And then if you really won't go in there, and if you try to give them cash, they won't take it. They want you to come inside and buy them food. If you resist, they stand behind your car, photograph your license plate because it's a ploy used to traffic you and take you. So they knock on your window and ask this. Where's the proof? Show me one credible case of this that was linked to trafficking, because I can see a lot of problems here. And it's so aggravating that people will just willy-nilly post this shit, and those posts get so much traction because it makes people feel like they have more control over these things that feel very foreign to us, that feel like we don't have a lot of control over because we don't understand them. So we save those things, we send those videos, and a lot of the comments that you tend to see are like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I'm sending this to so-and-so. What about this? They ask more questions. And it's like, that's not how it's happening. Like, you are improperly educating people. And could there be an incident where this specific thing did happen? Sure. To say they will come up and do this, this is a new trend, this is a new danger, is so misleading. Ugh. Another one, and I've seen this one all over the place, using bottled water, and he specifies on the passenger side, especially because you have to get out and go over there. They will take these plastic water bottles and put them under the back of your tire or like on the top of your wheel or tire, whatever. And then when you go to reverse, you run over it. There's a loud pop and then you get out and then they come take you. I feel like I don't even have to fully explain why that's so inaccurate. There are, again, no credible cases. Next one, Uber and taxi drivers, like I just explained, using the needles to inject the water bottles. Again, can these things happen? Sure. Are they common? No. Are they trends? No. Are there credible cases of these things being linked to trafficking? No. And if there are, bring it to my attention and let's shed some light on it. But you'll notice that these people never give specific circumstances or cases where this happened. They just say that it's a trend. They just say you need to be aware of this. And then you have the people in the comments that are like, well, isn't it better to be alert and aware than not to be? I mean, sure. But like, I think any of us know that anyone coming up knocking on your window doesn't feel the most safe. I had that happen when I was traveling in Kansas one time, and it was a woman. She looked friendly. She was in the bathroom with me. I didn't feel comfortable. Like, it's just using common sense safety tips. But to draw the conclusion that this is trafficking, number one, don't go post about it. Do your research. And then number two, not only to draw that conclusion, but then to say that this is a trend or a really big danger that women need to be aware of is really, 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 so ignorant. And you need to do your research. You're instilling unnecessary fear in people. And what I try to do is make sure that people don't have to live with unnecessary fear. They can go out and do the shit they want to, because I will tell you, confidence is a huge deterrent to perpetrators. So better than feeling anxious about all these things that you don't really need to be afraid of, and just knowing also that if you're alert and aware, your body a lot of times is going to sense broken social norms or things that feel off. You just have to teach yourself to respond to it and trust it. But thinking that this is how trafficking happens is so scary, because turns us away from the actual risks, which are people that come into your life, they act like you can trust them, they get close to you, and then they manipulate and exploit the trust that they've built between you and them. That's the real risk. That's what's happening most often. And those are the things that we need to talk about and spread. People know enough about situational awareness, and we can talk about that still, but do not instill the unnecessary fear. And the problem is, it's not even like it's in a conversation with someone. You're posting it online because you know it's going to get traction. You're prioritizing clout over proper education. And that's really just, it makes me so angry if you couldn't tell. So, and again, I will tell you, I reached out to him. I have tried to deal with it privately, and now I'm speaking out on it because I just think that these kinds of accounts are really dangerous. And I will say these are, and I'm not a fan of cancel culture, but these are the kinds of people that genuinely need to have their videos flagged. They need to stop posting stuff like this because at this point it's intentional. Like, I've sent him many messages. So what is the truth? What is really happening here? As I explained, there are not credible cases linking those things to trafficking. And the Uber driver thing trying to make you pass out, can it happen? Yes. Is this a trend? No. Is this happening at alarming rates? No. Should you use your better judgment, trust your gut? Yes. Kidnapping someone into trafficking is rare, and a lot of times they do target, especially with sex trafficking, young women, but they're looking for people they feel won't go notice if they go missing. If they see a mom in her car with her kids, or, you know, even just people that like maybe are in school and they have like a lot of connections, they're probably not going to go kidnap them because they don't want the viral news story. They're looking for people they feel won't go notice if they go missing. And specifically for sex trafficking, it a lot of times is young women. The most common way trafficking is going to happen, and I know we've talked about this before in so many episodes, I've had experts on, I'm going to have more experts on as well, but they are going to provide some sort of need to you, whether that is love, belonging, income, shelter, food, whatever it is, they provide a need to you. And a lot of times traffickers might also pose as like your romantic partner. They love bomb you, and this is love bombing with the intention to manipulate you. Once they get close to you, they can start to isolate you from your support system. They obviously also are going to target people that don't have very strong support systems. And then they might start controlling communications with people. They make you feel completely dependent on them, like you need them. So it's very hard to leave. And a lot of times victims don't realize they're being trafficked. And once they do, to them, it feels too late because it's very hard to separate from the trafficker, and the trafficker makes sure of that. Once they build that trust, once they make sure you're dependent on them, or you're afraid of them, maybe they like in, you know, with even just like people that are like victims of forced labor, the trafficker might tell them like, if you don't behave, I like, if they don't, depending on like their migrant status, they might tell them like, I'm going to go to the cops and you better be careful of the cops. You don't go to them because XYZ is going to happen. Like, they make them fearful of people that can help them. And they make them fearful of the consequences if they do try to get help. That's why these things are so tricky. It's very hard to reach trafficking victims because they are scared and they're very dependent on their traffickers. Manipulation, force, fraud, coercion, like these things are a lot stronger than physically holding somebody in trafficking, which does and has happened. It is more rare. Again, most of the time there's this manipulation. Once they get in close, that's where they can exploit you. That's where they exploit the trust they've built. And that's, again, where it can happen slowly to where it's very hard for the victim to realize that they are being pushed into something they don't want to do. They're made to think that it's their decisions at play. We have to understand these things. We have to understand how it really happens, because if we don't, that's when we start spreading so much false information like on TikTok. And it pisses me off that those videos can go viral like that. Yet, the true information, maybe because it's not as attractive, maybe because, who knows, it takes a lot longer to reach people with the real information. And I don't know why more people don't speak out about this. And I want to quickly, before we wrap up here, just talk about like the groups that are most at risk for trafficking. And I again want to differentiate between trafficking as a whole, which can mostly include forced labor and sex trafficking. Then you have sex trafficking and forced labor. So you're going to have different risk factors for both of those. They're going to kind of change between the two of them. This is just looking at trafficking as a whole and like some of the top 10 risk factors to be aware of. Number 1, youth with unstable housing. Number 2, foster care youth and recently aged out teens. Number 3, individuals experiencing domestic violence or family abuse. And a lot of times traffickers can look to try to figure out if you have any kind of history of abuse. Number 4, LGBTQIA plus youth rejected by family or unsupported at home. Number 5, undocumented immigrants or individuals with unstable immigration status. Number 6, people with substance dependencies. 7, individuals with untreated mental health challenges and disabilities as well. 8, women and girls facing poverty or economic instability. 9, prior victims of sexual abuse or exploitation, like I kind of referred to just a little bit ago. And number 10, people isolated from their support systems. Please keep that in mind. And this isn't to say that everyone's going to get trafficked. This is to say that if you know someone who maybe is experiencing one of these things, like, and you are somebody that obviously has good intentions and is well trusted, befriend them, get close to them, show them that you care about them, like be that support system for them if you can. If you are someone that maybe has some of these things and you feel like you could be at a higher risk, really just be mindful of the people you keep close, the people that you trust. And remember that, like, first of all, especially when you start dating somebody, it's not supposed to feel hard and difficult, and it's supposed to be celebrated that you have people in your life. If they're trying to isolate you or they're coming on just way too strong, be mindful of that. If you're looking for a support system, like, look for different groups in your area. If you want help looking for that, reach out to me. Like, find those people that are trustworthy, that have your best interest at heart, to become your stable support systems. And just getting the right people around you can really protect you. And I know it sounds so unattractive when we talk about safety, and so many people want to get into all these like crazy nuanced safety tips, and we can get into those for sure. But again, like, and I repeat this all the time, a lot of the most simple, basic principles and habits are also the most effective at mitigating risks. So be mindful of that, build self-esteem, be careful who you trust. And again, if you want help finding those support systems, please let me know. I'm more than happy to help. And I want to finish because I have been getting some messages on social media about people that maybe think that they are being trafficked. And I want to just kind of give a quick note. And there are a ton of different resources, so reach out. I can point you to more as well. But first of all, if you think you're being trafficked, you don't necessarily need proof in order to get help. And if you can immediately, like, focus on staying somewhere where you feel physically safe, away from the person that's making you feel, unsafe, or the situation that's scaring you, if you can. If you are in immediate danger, call 911. In a lot of places, you can also text 911 here in the US. If you want to talk to somebody who specializes in trafficking and won't judge you, you can also contact, and I'm going to give you 3 different ways to contact help. Number 1, text help or info to 233-733. It's the BeFree hotline. Call 1-888-373-7888. So again, that's 1-388-373-738. That's the National Human Trafficking Hotline. And then if you want to chat online, you can go to humantraffickinghotline.org/chat. Those are all going to be in the show notes as well. And if you don't feel safe where you are, if I can help you find a shelter, confidential shelter, please reach out, email me, Kaylee@everydayarmorofficial.com. Let me know where you're at. I have relationships with some trafficking experts, some nonprofits. I'm more than happy to help figure out the best place for you to go. If you are needing help, like, please don't hesitate to reach out. That's Kaylee@everydayarmorofficial.com, Kaylee, Kailee @everydayarmorofficial.com. Again, that's going to be in the show notes as well. Please let us know how we can help if you think that you are being trafficked, and trust your gut. It is so much better to be safe than sorry, and we will do whatever we can to point you in the right direction. Don't obviously go comment where you are on social media. If you want to DM, you can also do that as well, but email is the best way to make sure you get a hold of me. So let me know and I will help point you in the right direction. Trafficking especially is a very serious topic, and it's something that people capitalize on because we're often afraid of it, and we hear all of these wild tactics, and people know that, and that's why they post these things, because it gets traction, it gives them clout, gives them followers. Like I said, what's his handle? @police helpful tips on TikTok. His following has tripled over the past month, if not less, because of these kinds of posts. It's really frustrating because there's so many people, and those are just the people following him, not the people seeing the videos, not the people liking, sharing, saving those videos, thinking they're accurate. It's a really serious topic. It is a very real issue, and we need to spread real information on it. Please reach out with any questions. I'm going to be having some trafficking experts coming on the podcast in 2026. And if you have anything you want answered or anything that's not making sense to you, please let me know. My dream would be to have a system in place to help people realize they're being trafficked, a safer way for them to report it, a way to get them out of these situations. And if you have any ideas or connections, please let me know, because this is something that I've just become really passionate about over the last several years, especially with all the misinformation out there. I appreciate you guys for being part of the solution here, spreading accurate information. That's one of the biggest things, is education. How do you realize you're being trafficked if you don't know what trafficking is? And a lot of survivors will say, and Sandy Storm was on our podcast years ago. If I go listen to her episode, it was amazing. But she talks about, I didn't even realize I was being trafficked until years after the fact. So please, please, please share the information. If you guys have questions, comments, concerns, all of the information is below in the show notes to get a hold of us. And please, especially this episode, share it. Let us know what you think. And I will chat with you next time.